Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine Odesa, and we continue our work. We can watch us on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page. You can also ask your questions online. Just use the messengers that you can now see on your screen. And at the moment, we are going to discuss the Kherson Fine Arts Museum. And we have with us Larysa Zharkykh, head of the Information and Mass Media Department of the Kherson Regional Art Museum, named after Oleksiy Shovkunenko. Thank you very much for joining us today. I know that after liberation of Kherson, you come to Odesa in September last year, and back then you visited museum. What did you saw? What did you see back then in terms of the condition of the museum? It is empty. The museum is empty. It is devastated. Everything that was inside, all art pieces, were taken by Russian occupiers a year ago, at the beginning of November 2022. And when it comes to the history of your museum during occupation, that would be a long conversation because we lied to everyone that the collection is not there, that it was taken, because in autumn 22 the museum got in the program of a big restoration and the construction work started. But with the full-scale invasion, the work was suspended and contractors they just left to Odesa. The management of the museum had to close. That was left there, tried to find some funds, but the museum was closed together with the windows. And so there were no floor between the second and the third floor. And perhaps this is a saved museum. Then on the 2nd of March, on the second day of occupation, the Russian military wanted to occupy the building, but they saw its condition, that there was the construction powder, dust there, and they left. So we were relieved because they did not get access to our offices, to the museum holdings. They just left, leaving the museum open. But in May, Russian art looters visited us, and they were interested in such things, where the collection is, how it is stored, and these were the experts, because and our experts, they lied that there is no collection of the museum, that it was taken out with the start of restoration. The director was able to leave the Kherson because she was offered to make exhibition till the 9th of May. And then she was threatened that they will teach her how to love like Russia and Russian authorities, so she had to leave Kherson, and she managed the museum remotely. But I know that occupiers appointed their director, but that was later. In May, we continued working, and those who could did that remotely. And I am even surprised that somewhere till the mid of April, we were active in Facebook. We published our posts showing the art pieces from our collection. Those posts were sometimes even optimistic. Sometimes we invented the topics for our posts. For example, when the Russians were not able to come to us. We just published a big plate with the fairy tale character Nikita Kozhemyaka, and so we just told people about that. So before we were silenced by the director, that there was the rallies of Kherson residents who were against occupiers, and also we had such movement in social media. Of course, Russians monitored everyone, but sometimes we were spared because we closed our Facebook page. Weren't you visited by occupiers because of the Facebook posts? Note, because as far as I understand, they felt uneasy in Kherson. They did not understand why people were against them, why people didn't want to see them in their city. And in May, so-called polite people dressed as civilians, but they were with weapons, and they were interested in our collection. We lied to them saying that we didn't have anything, and they told us that they will help us to take our collection to the Crimea. And they occupied a museum only on the 19th of July. And they appointed their director, but she wasn't a professional because you know that she was a singer in a cafe. And you know what knowledge she had. So she didn't have the professional background, yes. And if we look at whom occupiers appointed as the directors of managers, you can see that some guard could become a director of a school. A singer of some cafe became, a variety singer became the director of the museum. What was the response of your team to the appointment of that variety singer? By that moment, I had already left Kherson, but in the city, we have some people left. Some of them collaborated with occupiers and helped to rob the museum. Other employees, they refused. They took their belongings and they did not work in the museum. But three persons following the request of our director worked there, and they were like our undercover agents, and they just monitored the situation. What happened after occupation of the museum in July until the liberation of the museum? And the museum could not work as an exhibition platform, and occupiers found the following way out. They organized one exhibition in the exhibition hall of the Artists Association or Artists Union. They also planned the second exhibition, but then they started fleeing in haste, and when they did this, they took the whole almost the whole of the collection with them. As far as I understand, they just examined our collection, but the whole collection was there. And when we were getting ready to the renovation of our exhibition halls, everything was transferred on the first floor. Everything was packed and was in our holdings and in some of the rooms. And some maybe that made this robbery easier for them. Do you have the information about this examination? Who were the experts? Did they bring their own experts with them? Around 10 persons were named as the museum workers. They could be from Russia or from Crimea, I don't know for sure. But we got information from journalists that among the robbers there was the director of the Central Museum Tavrida, Andrei Mavlin. This is the museum that has our collection at the moment, most of it. And he had his deputy Shkeda, who is an FSB officer. And the person responsible for holding Anna Skripka, she provided this information. And when she provided some professional information, they understood her. So this means that they had professional background. But despite this fact, there was no understanding of the necessity to follow a comprehensive procedure to transfer art pieces. But what we saw, first they tried to transfer the art pieces. They packed them somehow, and others items were had been packed by us. But then they were in haste. They don't have enough time. And I understand when our Hanna told us that they don't use gloves to take paintings or coal drawings. And you know that this should not be done because this destroys such drawings because the coal is left on hands. And people who are witnesses, they say that the attitude to washing machines was better from occupiers because the occupiers just threw everything into the tracks, all the art pieces, with no care. And they took more than 10,000 art pieces. And are there some really valuable artworks there, if you can share this detail? Just 2 weeks before the museum was robbed, on the Russian media Izvestia, they published an article that the Russian Museum Fund will get more than 1 billion rubles. An art historian from Russia examined, so to say, 4 museums from Kherson, Berdyansk, Luhansk, and Donetsk, if I'm not mistaken. And he identified what is the most valuable in those museums. In the Kherson Museum, they were interested in old icons of the 17th century and the art works of Ayvazovsky. But there was one phrase in that article that raised our concern. We have a picture, a painting of Konstantin Makovsky, a portrait of a woman or a portrait of a wife, because it is highly probable that he depicted there his second wife, Yulia Pavlovna. This painting is one of favorite among our visitors. People like to take pictures with it. And Kherson residents name it even as Kherson Gioconda. But that art historian in the article said that this painting is very popular among Kherson, but it is traditional and it is impossible to get more than 100,000 rubles at the auction, dollars. But the situation is different with Ayvazovsky. Back then, we understood that this is a risk that they are going to sell these art pieces at the black market. How could you evaluate the collection that they stole, that the occupiers stole? Somehow this question is very popular, but this is important. I don't have such information because these are the different stages of collections. That's why I cannot answer the question. But we had the works of Ayvazovsky in our collection, old icons, and we had Pimanenko's works, and we had also Shishkin, Polenov, Bogolyubov, Savrasov's. These are the artists from the Russian Academy of Art. We also had the artworks of Ukrainian artists, but the problem is that they took everyone with them. So they had the task to meet some plan, and our Hanna Skripka heard one of the conversation, and it was like that. Well, if are 5,000 is 5,000, is it enough to have 5,000? No, 7,000. No, 10,000 will be just okay. They cannot take out some of the big paintings, so they dropped there. Some of the paintings are destroyed. And the canvas destroyed. Some of them were taken out of the frames, and it is clear that those graphic art pieces, the folders with dozens of art pieces, it is easier to take than one work. And first, they took the most valuable things, everything that we have in our permanent exhibition. As far as I know, the part of this collection is in Tavrida Museum in Simferopol. And you've seen the photos on the web, and you saw your pictures, your paintings, your art pieces. The whole collection was not brought to the Crimea, and when it became known, and on the 4th of November, they finalized robbing. On the 5th November, we saw the information that they brought trucks without vehicle numbers with the art pieces from the Kherson Fine Arts Museum, and the next day there were two more trucks, and we saw the pictures, and there we noticed two art pieces. One of them was from our permanent exhibition, and the one was shown quite often. This is the work of Andrei Ankonechitailo from Kherson, which is this landscape of Paris, and also the miniature of Ivan Pikhepton, the paquette on the sun dawn on the river. And then we started studying all the pictures. We sent to all employees the photos of the works, and some they recognized all the things. And since the day, we never stopped our identification activities. And our task is to identify what they have now in the Tavrida Museum. The Russians, Margin, the experts, they also confirm with the Russian and international mass media that he has the collection of the Kherson Fine Arts Museum. But he says that it is around 10,000 pieces, but we know that they took more than 10,000. And since on the pictures we can see the most valuable art pieces, like works of Ayvazovsky, Pimonenko, or these old icons, there is a question. Perhaps some of the items never reached Crimea. Perhaps someone took it for their own collection or just to resell. But you are not aware of the cases of auctions? No, but quite often we receive official requests asking us to confirm that are there some art pieces from our museum among the works detained by border guards on the border. Has your management contacted the management of that museum in Simferopol for them to return what was stolen? Our management could not contact them because we understand that Malgin, he is a collaborator. But I know that the Pilar Bonet, the Spanish journalist, interviewed him in the mid-November last year. And when Alina Vasilievna, our director, returned to Kherson, she also met Pilar. And since journalists used to work in the Soviet Union, she personally knew Malgin. She called him, she asked him, she called back to Alina and told her that he was surprised, that he was just not sure about himself, but he confirmed that there are pictures, that there are paintings in his museum. the stolen one. What can you tell about the current situation, the current state of the museum? So our employees are dispersed. Some of the people stay in Kherson, and in Kherson, the first task is to preserve our building. Our building is an architectural monument, landmark of Odesa architect Adolf Minkus. That was one of his early works, because back then he was a young architect. But after the occupation, museum was shelled 3 times. First on the 3rd of November last year, then on the 10th of June this year, and just 10 days ago, on the 4th of December, there was yet another shelling damaging the museum. Is the building damaged? Lord, the building is still there. Facade is damaged. The windows destroyed every time. After the first shelling, more than 100 square meters of windows were destroyed. They were covered by slabs and by other materials resistant to shelling. But after the latest shelling, these slabs were also those slabs also cracked. So the windows they destroyed the most, and also the facade of the building. The museum is closed now. We can't work because there is no collection there, and there is some repair work, and he's like frozen in that condition, because we cannot have any exhibitions there because there is no floor there, and the construction has not been finalized there. How many museums there are in Kherson? There are 2 museums, our Fine Arts Museum and a local history museum just in front of us. Is it open? Yes, they are open. On the one hand, the situation is not that complicated there, but on the other hand, it is still complicated because the director of the museum was a collaborator. So she started collaborating at once. She told to mass media how bad it was during Ukrainian times, that she could not tell about the Second World War, despite the fact that they always exhibited it. And now the employees who are still there and who are not collaborators, they try to continue the work of museum. They organize some small exhibitions, but their work is limited because a lot has been taken from that museum as well. The collaborator director of your museum, where is she now? She could be in Crimea or in Russia. I don't have precise information, but I know that she left. And as for the variety singer director, she could be in Crimea or in Russia. Once I saw her in one of the pictures from the training from museum workers, but I don't know her whereabouts, and I don't know also where all our employees who left Kherson. That part of the collection that is still there, that occupiers didn't have time to take with them. It's in a safe place, as I understand. Yes, it's in the safe place. Have you been contacted with foreign philanthropists offering you some support or help? The thing is that we are in contact with journalists from Ukraine, from abroad. In November last year, we had like a marathon of interviews, meetings, and people told me that a lot of people came to Kherson, and they told me that there is one interview now and there is a queue of other journalists. So the topic was very popular. But this is not a surprise. According to the Human Rights Watch data, and our museum worked with that organization and with the UN institutions, UNESCO, the Blue Shield, which is an analog of the Red Cross in the cultural area. So to say, and we hope that we will have our collection back, because different experts have different opinion. Some of them say that they are international laws and that we should they will enable us to easily take from Russia what it stole. Others say that we should work on new laws and that the return of collection will take a long time and a lot of efforts, and it is unknown when it can happen. So I can tell you when it will happen, and I've started telling you about Human Rights Watch. For the anniversary of the full-scale invasion, they assessed the negative impact of Russia on Ukraine, and they also identified 12 most severe crimes of Russia, including the robbery of the Kherson Fine Arts Museum. And of course, we should not expect that Russia will return these art pieces by itself, but I think that we will liberate the Ukrainian peninsula, and that's how we can get our paintings back. We also hope for that. We hope that the Kerch Bridge will be on fire, that occupiers, collaborators will leave Crimea, leaving all the things that they have stolen. And that when the armed forces of Ukraine will liberate Crimea, they will just see our collection intact. Thank you very much for joining us today at the Media Center Ukraine Odesa. And this is the last briefing for today. Thank you very much for watching.